Good evening and welcome. You are listening to Mindleapic, a quiet place where gentle history stories help you relax, slow your thoughts, and drift softly into sleep. Before we begin tonight's journey, take a small moment to make yourself comfortable. Maybe dim the lights in your room. Maybe adjust your pillow or pull the blanket a little closer. Let your shoulders soften. And as you settle in, if you enjoy calm historical sleep stories like this, you can gently like the video and subscribe to the Mindleapic channel. It helps the channel grow and allows more peaceful stories like this to reach people who need a quiet moment at the end of the day. You are also warmly invited to leave a comment telling us which city or country you are listening from tonight. It is always peaceful to see listeners joining from places all around the world. Now, there is nothing you need to do, no tasks to complete, no problems to solve. Just listen. Let the rhythm of the story move slowly, like soft footsteps on an old stone street. Tonight, we will travel gently back in time, far away from modern noise, far away from glowing screens and busy roads. We will visit a quiet Ottoman coffee house many centuries ago, a place filled with warm lamps, soft voices, and the slow comfort of shared evening moments. So now, take one slow breath in and gently breathe out, and let us begin. The evening air in the old city is calm and cool. It is the kind of evening where the sky turns a soft shade of deep blue, slowly fading into night. Above the rooftops of Istanbul, a few early stars begin to appear. The streets are not silent, but they are gentle. You can hear the distant sound of footsteps on stone roads, a quiet cartwheel turning slowly somewhere down a narrow street, and occasionally the soft voice of someone greeting a neighbor before going home for the night. Lanterns hang beside doorways, casting warm circles of light onto the cobblestones. The smell of warm bread still lingers, faintly in the air from the bakeries that closed not long ago, and somewhere nearby, drifting softly through the streets, is the comforting scent of freshly brewed coffee. In this time, coffee houses are becoming a very special part of Ottoman life. They are not loud places. They are not rushed places. Instead, they are slow. People come here to rest their thoughts, share small stories, listen to poetry, or simply sit quietly among others. In one corner of the neighborhood, tucked between two narrow buildings with wooden balconies, stands a modest coffee house. Its wooden door is slightly open. Inside, the light of oil lamps glows softly against the walls. The room is warm. The scent of roasted coffee beans fills the air, mixed gently with the faint smell of old wood and warm coals. Low wooden tables are placed around the room. Small cushions rest beside them. Some men sit quietly, holding delicate cups of coffee. Others lean back slightly, speaking in slow, calm voices. No one rushes here. Time moves differently inside a coffee house. Near the back of the room stands the kahvechi, the coffee maker. His movements are steady and practiced. He pours water carefully into a small copper pot called a sezve. Then he adds finely ground coffee, dark and fragrant. The pot rests gently over warm coals. He watches patiently. In Ottoman coffee making, patience is important. The coffee must rise slowly, forming a light foam at the top. Too fast, and the taste will not be right. Too slow, and the warmth fades. So he waits, and the room continues its quiet rhythm. One man slowly moves small carved pieces across a wooden backgammon board. Another softly recites lines of poetry he remembers from many years ago. A young visitor sits near the wall, listening carefully. Perhaps he has come here for the first time. Perhaps he is curious about this peaceful place where stories travel slowly through, the air like drifting smoke. Outside, the night grows deeper, but inside the coffee house, The lamps continue to glow, and the gentle conversations continue. Some talk about small things. A new shipment of spices arriving at the market. A fisherman who returned early because the sea was too calm for his nets. The slow rebuilding of a fountain in the square. Nothing urgent, nothing loud, just the quiet sharing of daily life. The coffee maker lifts the sesvi from the coals. He pours the coffee slowly into a small porcelain cup. The foam rests perfectly at the top. He places the cup gently on a small tray and carries it across the room. The man receiving the cup nods with quiet gratitude. He lifts the cup carefully. The coffee is strong, but the moment is calm. He takes a slow sip, and outside, the distant night breeze moves softly through the narrow streets of the Ottoman city. Inside the coffee house, the lamps flicker slightly, and the quiet evening continues. The lamps inside the coffee house continue to glow softly. Their small flames move gently whenever the door opens and a quiet breeze slips into the room. The wooden walls hold the warmth of the evening. The floor, worn smooth by many years of footsteps, reflects the soft light of the oil lamps. Nothing in this room feels hurried. Every object seems comfortable with time. Near the front of the coffee house sits an older man with a long gray beard. His shoulders are relaxed, and his eyes rest calmly on the small cup in front of him. He has been coming to this coffee house for many years, perhaps 20 years, perhaps even more. The young coffee maker remembers him arriving here when he was still a child helping his father serve drinks. Some things change slowly in the city, but some things remain very steady. The older man lifts his cup again. The coffee is dark and thick, resting quietly in the delicate porcelain cup. He takes a small sip. In the Ottoman world, coffee is not something to drink quickly. It is meant to be enjoyed slowly, with patience and attention. Each sip is small. Each pause between sips is long. Across the table from him sits another regular visitor. This man is younger, but not young. His beard is dark, though a few silver strands have begun to appear near his chin. He gently rolls 2 small backgammon dice between his fingers. The wooden board rests between them, its carved patterns polished by years of play. The older man glances down at the board and smiles softly. They have played this game together many evenings. Sometimes the older man wins. Sometimes the younger man wins. But the result is never very important. The quiet rhythm of the game is what matters. The soft click of the dice, the slow movement of the pieces, the calm conversation between turns. The younger man releases the dice. They tumble gently across the board. A quiet sound, like small stones touching each other. He studies the numbers, then moves one of the carved pieces forward across the smooth wooden path. Outside the coffee house, the narrow street has grown darker. The lantern hanging beside the door flickers in the gentle wind. 2 men walk slowly past the building, their footsteps echoing softly against the stone road. They speak quietly as they walk, their voices fading into the distance. Inside, the room remains peaceful. Near the wall sits the young visitor who arrived earlier in the evening. He is still watching everything with quiet curiosity. Perhaps he is new to the neighborhood. Perhaps he has only recently arrived in the great city of Istanbul. Cities like this can feel overwhelming during the day. Markets filled with shouting merchants. Busy docks with sailors unloading ships from distant lands. Donkeys pulling carts through crowded streets. But at night, in a place like this coffee house, the city becomes gentle. The young visitor notices how the coffee maker moves with calm precision. Every step is careful, every motion familiar. He lifts another small copper tesve and pours fresh water inside. Then he reaches for a small wooden box filled with finely ground coffee. The scent rises into the warm air, rich, deep, comforting. Coffee arrived in the Ottoman world many generations ago. carried from lands far to the south. At first, it was something rare, something unusual. But over time, people discovered that coffee had a special quality. It brought people together, not in loud celebrations, but in quiet gatherings like this one. The young visitor watches as the coffee maker places the sezve over the glowing coals once again. The fire beneath is small. Only a few red embers glow in the metal tray, but they provide the perfect warmth. Coffee should never be rushed. It should rise slowly, forming a gentle foam at the surface. The coffee maker waits patiently. While he waits, he glances around the room. Several customers are still sitting peacefully at their tables. One man quietly reads a small piece of paper, perhaps a letter from a distant friend. Another sits with his hands folded, simply listening to the soft conversations around him. In one corner, two travelers speak quietly about the long road they walked earlier that day. Their voices are calm and slow. One describes a peaceful village beside a river many miles away. The other remembers a quiet caravan stop where they rested beneath tall trees. The young visitor listens. The stories move gently through the room. They do not demand attention. They simply exist, floating softly through the warm air. After a moment, the coffee maker notices the foam beginning to rise in the sezve. He lifts it carefully from the coals. He pours a little of the foam into two waiting cups. Then he returns the pot briefly to the heat. This careful process is repeated again and again. Each step builds the perfect cup. Finally, the coffee is ready. He pours the rich liquid slowly into the delicate cups. The foam rests at the top like a soft brown cloud. He places the cups onto a small brass tray. Then he carries them across the room. The travelers thank him quietly. One of them inhales the warm aroma rising from the cup. Coffee in this time is strong, much stronger than what many people drink in later centuries. But that strength is part of the experience. A small cup is enough. A small cup shared with quiet conversation can fill an entire evening. The travelers take their first careful sips. They pause between them. There is no hurry. Outside, the sky above the city has grown darker. More stars now shine quietly over the rooftops. Somewhere in the distance, a night watchman walks slowly through another street, tapping his staff gently against the stone to signal that all is calm. The young visitor listens to that distant tapping sound. It echoes faintly through the quiet night. Inside the coffee house, the backgammon game continues. The older man studies the board again. He reaches forward and moves another piece. His movements are slow and thoughtful. Then he leans back slightly and folds his hands in his lap. He looks around the room. This place has seen many evenings like this one. Many quiet conversations. Many cups of coffee. Many small moments of peace in the middle of a busy world. The young visitor begins to understand something. This coffee house is not only a place to drink coffee. It is a place where time slows down. A place where the outside noise of the city fades away. A place where people can sit together in calm companionship. And tonight, under the warm glow of soft lamps and gentle voices, that quiet tradition continues. The coals glow softly. The lamps flicker gently, and the peaceful night inside the Ottoman coffee house moves slowly forward. The evening continues to settle gently over the city. Inside the coffee house, the warm glow of the lamps makes the room feel calm and sheltered from the night outside. The soft light rests on the wooden tables, on the smooth floor, and on the quiet faces of the visitors who have gathered here. Nothing moves quickly. Even the shadows on the walls seem to drift slowly, following the gentle movement of the lamp flames. The young visitor near the wall shifts slightly on his cushion. He stretches his legs a little and listens carefully to the quiet life of the room. Every sound here feels soft. The small clink of porcelain cups touching the wooden table, the low murmur of voices, the slow turning of a page as the man reading his letter folds the paper again and places it carefully inside his coat. The coffee maker returns to his place near the warm coals. He moves with the steady rhythm of someone who has done the same work for many years. His hands know exactly where every cup, every spoon, and every small copper pot rests. He does not need to hurry. People who visit a coffee house understand that good coffee takes time, and time in this place is never wasted. The coffee maker gently brushes a few grains of coffee from the wooden counter. Then he checks the glowing coals again, adjusting them slightly with a small metal tool. The coals glow like quiet red stars in the dark metal tray. Their warmth spreads slowly through the room. Near the entrance, the wooden door opens just a little wider. A cool breath of night air drifts inside. A new guest steps quietly into the coffee house. He pauses near the doorway for a moment, letting his eyes adjust to the warm light. His cloak carries a faint dust from the streets outside. He removes it slowly and hangs it beside the door. The young visitor watches him. The new guest appears calm and thoughtful. He nods politely to a few familiar faces in the room, before choosing a seat at one of the low tables. The coffee maker notices him and gives a small, respectful nod. There is no need for many words. The guest lifts 2 fingers gently, a simple signal that he would like a cup of coffee. The coffee maker understands immediately. He reaches again for the small copper tsezve. Water is poured slowly inside. Then the fine dark coffee is added. Soon the rich scent begins to rise again, filling the air with its warm and comforting aroma. The room breathes quietly around this familiar ritual. Across the room, the backgammon game between the 2 regular visitors continues. The younger man studies the board carefully. His fingers rest lightly on one of the carved pieces. He thinks for a moment. Then he moves the piece forward with a soft, sliding sound. The older man watches the move with calm interest. He nods slowly, as if appreciating the quiet strategy of the game. Backgammon has been played in many lands for thousands of years, long before this coffee house was built, long before many of the buildings in this neighborhood even existed. Games like this travel through time, carried by merchants, travelers, and storytellers, and here tonight, under the gentle lamps of the Ottoman coffee house, the same ancient game continues. The older man rolls the dice now. They tumble softly across the board, a quiet rhythm, a peaceful moment. The young visitor finds himself relaxing deeper into his seat. There is something about this place that invites stillness. Even his thoughts begin to slow. Outside the coffee house, the narrow streets of the city are growing quieter. Many homes now have their windows closed. Families gather inside around small lamps. Some share simple meals. Some prepare for sleep. Some tell quiet stories to children before the night grows deeper. From far away, the faint sound of waves from the Bosphorus can sometimes be heard when the wind moves just right. It is a soft and distant sound, like the quiet breathing of the sea. Inside the coffee house, the new guest receives his cup. The coffee maker places it gently on the table. Steam rises slowly from the dark surface. The guest wraps his hands around the warm cup for a moment before lifting it. He inhales the scent. Then he takes a slow sip. His shoulders relax slightly. It is the first peaceful moment he has had since walking through the busy streets earlier that evening. Coffee houses offer this small gift to many people. A pause, a breath, a moment where nothing must be done. In another corner of the room, the 2 travelers who arrived earlier continue their quiet conversation. One of them now speaks about a village surrounded by olive trees. He describes how the leaves shimmer in the sunlight during the day, and how in the evening the air becomes cool and still as the shadows stretch across the fields. The other traveler listens with quiet interest. Travelers often carry many stories with them. Roads connect distant places, but stories connect people. And in a coffee house like this, those stories find gentle listeners. The young visitor notices how the room seems to hold many small worlds at once. The world of the backgammon players, the world of the travelers and their distant roads, the quiet world of the man who sits alone, slowly finishing his cup of coffee while watching the lamplight dance across the wall. Each person here carries their own thoughts, their own memories, but in this quiet place, they share the same calm evening. The coffee maker begins preparing another pot. The soft sound of spoon touching copper echoes gently from his corner of the room. Outside, a stray cat moves silently along the edge of the street. It pauses beneath the lantern hanging beside the coffee house door. For a moment, it watches the light flicker. Then it continues quietly down the street. Inside, the warmth remains steady. The lamps glow. The coffee steams. The conversations drift slowly through the calm air. And the peaceful night inside the Ottoman coffee house continues to unfold, one gentle moment at a time. The night deepens slowly over the old city. Above the rooftops of Istanbul, the sky has turned a deeper shade of blue. The stars now appear brighter, scattered quietly across the wide darkness above the domes and minarets. But inside the coffee house, the feeling of evening comfort remains warm and steady. The lamps continue to glow softly. Their gentle light rests on the wooden beams of the ceiling, on the low tables, and on the quiet faces of the visitors who have chosen to spend this calm night together. The young visitor near the wall has now relaxed even more into his seat. At first, he had watched everything with curiosity. Every movement, every sound seemed new to him. But now, the slow rhythm of the room has begun to settle into his thoughts. He listens, not only to the voices, but to the spaces between them. The peaceful pauses, the quiet breathing of the room itself. Near the back of the coffee house, the coffee maker prepares another small pot. The copper sesve rests above the warm coals again. The faint, bubbling sound begins as the water warms slowly. He stirs the coffee gently with a small spoon. The smell of roasted beans spreads once more through the air. This scent has become a familiar companion in the evening hours. Many people in the city now associate the smell of coffee with rest, conversation, and quiet reflection. Outside the door, the lantern flickers softly. A light wind moves through the narrow street, carrying the cool breath of the night between the tall buildings. For a moment, the door opens again. Another guest steps inside. This man walks with the slow confidence of someone who knows the place well. He greets the coffee maker with a calm nod. Then he chooses a seat beside one of the windows. From there, he can see both the quiet room and the dark street outside. He removes a small cloth pouch from his coat and places it carefully on the table. Inside the pouch are several smooth worry beads, polished from many years of gentle use. He lifts them slowly into his hand. One by one, the beads slide softly between his fingers. The movement is steady, calm, almost like the slow passing of time itself. In many places across the Ottoman world, worry beads are a quiet companion for long evenings. Some people use them while thinking, some while listening to stories. Some simply enjoy the gentle rhythm of the beads moving through their hands. Tonight, the soft clicking of the beads adds another peaceful sound to the coffee house. Across the room, the backgammon game continues. The younger player leans forward slightly. He studies the board carefully again. His brow wrinkles for a moment as he considers his next move. But the older man watches him with a calm smile. He has seen that thoughtful expression many times before. The younger man moves a piece. Then he rolls the dice again. The dice bounce lightly against the wooden board. The sound is small and comforting. The older man chuckles softly. not loudly, just a small breath of amusement. Then he moves one of his pieces slowly across the board. Backgammon games in coffee houses are rarely rushed. Sometimes a single match can last a long time. The players speak between turns. They pause to sip their coffee. They watch the room around them. The game becomes part of the evening rather than the center of it. Meanwhile, the travelers in the corner continue their quiet conversation. One of them now speaks about the sea. He describes a peaceful harbor he visited several days ago. Fishing boats rocked gently on the water. Seagulls drifted slowly above the harbor walls, and the smell of salt and wood filled the cool morning air. The other traveler listens carefully. Then he shares a memory of a mountain road he once walked during autumn. The trees had turned shades of gold and deep red. Leaves covered the path like a soft carpet. The air was crisp and quiet. The young visitor listens to these stories with growing calm. Each story feels like a soft picture drifting through his mind. A harbor, a mountain road, olive trees, quiet villages, slow journeys. These are the kinds of stories that travel easily through a coffee house. They do not demand attention. They simply exist, floating gently between people. The coffee maker lifts the sesvi again. The foam has formed perfectly. He pours the coffee carefully into 2 waiting cups. The dark liquid settles slowly. The surface remains smooth. He carries the tray across the room to the man by the window. The man pauses his worry beads and nods in thanks. He lifts the cup. For a moment, he simply enjoys the warmth rising from it. Then he takes a slow sip. Outside, somewhere deeper in the city, a night watchman calls softly to mark the passing hour. His voice echoes faintly through distant streets. The sound fades slowly into the night. Inside the coffee house, no one rushes. The older backgammon player stretches his shoulders slightly. He glances toward the young visitor for a moment. Their eyes meet briefly. The older man smiles kindly. It is a small gesture, but it carries warmth. Coffee houses welcome both familiar faces and new ones. Everyone who enters becomes part of the quiet evening. The young visitor returns the small smile. Then he looks again around the room. He notices the lamps, the warm shadows, the calm faces of people enjoying the slow passing of time. Perhaps tomorrow the city will again be busy. Merchants calling in the market, ships arriving at the harbor, carriages moving through crowded streets. But tonight, here in this gentle coffee house, none of that noise exists. Only warm lamps, soft voices, the quiet scent of coffee, and the slow, peaceful unfolding of a calm Ottoman night. The night continues to move gently forward. Inside the Ottoman coffee house, the warmth of the lamps and the steady glow of the coals create a peaceful shelter from the cool air outside. The room feels quiet and steady, like a small island of calm within the large, sleeping city. The young visitor leans back against the wooden wall behind him. He notices how the sounds in the room form a slow and comforting rhythm. A cup being placed softly on a table. The gentle roll of dice across the backgammon board. The faint crackle of the glowing coals beneath the coffee pots. None of the sounds are sharp. None of them hurry. They simply exist, moving slowly through the room like a calm evening breeze. The coffee maker wipes the wooden counter with a small cloth. His movements are unhurried. He has prepared many cups tonight, but the evening still feels relaxed. The coffee house is not full, but it is comfortably alive with quiet presence. Some people have been sitting here for hours. Others arrived only a short time ago. But everyone shares the same gentle pace. Near the window, the man with the worry beads continues to move them slowly through his fingers. The small beads click softly as they pass one by one. He looks outside for a moment. The street beyond the window is darker now. Only the lantern by the door and a few distant lamps illuminate the narrow road. A pair of late travelers walk quietly down the street. Their footsteps echo softly between the tall stone buildings. Then they disappear around the corner, and the street becomes still again. Inside, the coffee maker begins preparing another pot. He pours fresh water into the copper sesve. The spoon dips into the container of finely ground coffee. Soon, the familiar rich scent begins to rise again. The smell moves gently through the room. It mixes with the faint scent of wood and warm coals. For many people in the Ottoman world, this smell signals the peaceful hours of the evening, a time for reflection, a time for quiet conversation, or simply a time to sit and let the mind rest. Across the room, the older backgammon player studies the board again. The younger man has just made a clever move. The older man strokes his beard thoughtfully. His eyes narrow slightly as he considers his options. But even his thinking is calm. There is no tension here. Backgammon in a coffee house is a companion to the evening, not a contest of urgency. He finally reaches forward and moves one of his pieces. The wooden piece slides softly across the board. Then he leans back again and folds his hands. The younger man smiles. He enjoys these quiet games with his friend. They have played many evenings like this one, sometimes speaking, sometimes simply sharing the silence. Nearby, the two travelers have now finished their cups. One of them stretches his legs and sighs softly. The long road has left his body tired, but the calm atmosphere of the coffee house has eased that weariness. He looks around the room slowly. Travelers often notice small details that regular visitors overlook. He observes the patterns carved into the wooden tables, the way the lamps hang from iron hooks on the beams, the small shelves along the wall where extra cups are stacked neatly. Every coffee house has its own quiet personality, and this one feels warm and welcoming. The coffee maker brings another tray across the room. The cups are small, but their warmth spreads quickly through the hands of the people who receive them. Coffee in this time is thick and strong. Often, after finishing the drink, the grounds settle at the bottom of the cup. Some people even enjoy turning the cup over afterward, studying the patterns left by the coffee grounds. They sometimes speak playfully about what shapes they see: a mountain, a road, a bird, or perhaps a distant city. But tonight, no one studies their cups. Tonight, the room simply rests in quiet conversation. The young visitor notices something interesting. Even when people stop speaking, the room never feels empty. The silence itself feels comfortable, like a blanket of calm spread gently across the evening. Outside, the cool night air moves slowly through the streets of Istanbul. The distant sea breeze carries the faint smell of salt from the Bosphorus. Somewhere far away, a dog barks once, then falls silent again. Inside the coffee house, the lamps flicker softly. Their small flames dance gently whenever the door moves. The coffee maker returns to his corner again. He carefully arranges the copper pots and cups. His father once owned this coffee house many years ago, and before him, another coffee maker ran the place. These quiet rooms have witnessed thousands of evenings like this one. Generations of people have sat in these same places, played games, shared stories, drunk small cups of strong coffee, and watched the night move slowly forward. The man with the worry beads pauses for a moment. He places the beads on the table beside his cup. Then he leans back slightly and closes his eyes. Not asleep, just resting, listening to the peaceful sounds around him. The young visitor notices this and smiles quietly. He understands the feeling now. The coffee house is not only a place for conversation, it is a place where people can simply exist together in calm silence. The backgammon dice roll again. The pieces move. The travelers speak softly once more. The coffee maker pours another careful cup. And outside, the Ottoman city continues its quiet journey into the deeper hours of the night. Inside the coffee house, the calm evening continues. Slowly, gently, and without hurry, the quiet night continues to stretch gently across the city. Inside the coffee house, the lamps burn a little lower now, but their light still fills the room with a soft, golden glow. The warmth from the coals beneath the coffee pots spreads slowly through the air, making the space feel calm and welcoming. The young visitor notices how time seems to move differently here. Outside in the markets during the day, hours pass quickly. Merchants call out to customers. Animals pull carts through crowded streets. The sound of many voices fills the air. But inside the coffee house, time flows like a slow river. Nothing rushes. Nothing presses forward. Moments simply arrive and gently pass. Near the window, the man with the worry beads picks them up again. One by one, the smooth beads move quietly through his fingers. Their soft, clicking sound blends peacefully with the other small sounds in the room. He looks toward the door for a moment. The lantern outside still glows in the dark street. Occasionally, a shadow moves past the light. A late traveler walking home, or perhaps someone finishing their evening work. But the street grows quieter with each passing hour. Inside, the coffee maker adds a few more small pieces of charcoal to the tray of coals. The red embers brighten for a moment as the new fuel settles into place. A faint crackle rises from the metal tray. Then the coals return to their steady glow. He lifts another tesvi and fills it with water. His hands move slowly and with great care. Each movement has been repeated many thousands of times. Coffee making is not only a task, it is a rhythm, a small evening ritual that brings comfort to the people who gather here. Soon, the rich scent of brewing coffee spreads once again through the room. Across the room, the backgammon players continue their long and peaceful match. The older man studies the board with quiet concentration. His friend watches patiently. Neither of them seems concerned about who will win. The game itself is the pleasure. The older man rolls the dice. They tumble gently across the board. A soft clatter, then stillness. He nods slowly and moves one of the pieces forward. The younger player leans back slightly and smiles. He reaches for his cup and takes another slow sip. The coffee has cooled just enough to drink comfortably now. Nearby, the two travelers have grown quieter. One of them rests his elbows lightly on the table, watching the lamp flame flicker above them. The other looks toward the coffee maker as he prepares another cup. Travelers often spend many nights in places like this. Coffee houses offer more than a drink. They offer warmth, rest, and the quiet company of others who understand the comfort of a calm evening. The young visitor notices something else now. Every person in the room sits in their own small circle of lamplight. Each table has its own little island of warmth. Between those islands are soft shadows. It creates a feeling of gentle privacy, even though everyone shares the same space. The man with the letter, who had been sitting quietly earlier, now folds the paper carefully once more. He places it inside his coat. For a moment he sits still, thinking about the words he has just read. Perhaps the letter came from family far away. Perhaps from a friend in another city. Letters travel slowly in this time, carried by horses or ships across long distances. When they arrive, they are treasured. He takes the final sip from his cup. Then he stands slowly, nods politely to the coffee maker, and quietly leaves the room. The door opens softly. A breath of cool night air drifts in. Then the door closes again. The room grows calm once more. Outside, the stars above the city shine clearly now. The sky is deep and endless. Inside the coffee house, the young visitor feels a growing sense of peace. The stories, the games, the slow movement of time, all of it has created a gentle stillness in his mind. The coffee maker pours another finished cup onto a small tray. Steam curls upward like thin white threads. He carries the tray across the room and places the cup beside the travelers. They thank him quietly. One of them stretches again and relaxes back against the cushion. Long roads can be tiring, but a quiet coffee house can restore a traveler's spirit. The backgammon players pause their game for a moment. The younger man reaches for the dice but does not roll them yet. Instead, both players sit quietly, listening to the soft sounds of the room, the slow clicking of the worry beads, the faint crackle of the coals, the distant wind moving somewhere far above the rooftops. These small sounds form the quiet music of the coffee house. The young visitor closes his eyes for just a moment, not sleeping, just resting. He breathes slowly. The scent of coffee and warm wood fills the air around him. When he opens his eyes again, the room looks exactly the same, calm, warm, unhurried, and the peaceful night inside the Ottoman coffee house continues to unfold, moment by gentle moment. The night grows deeper, but the calm inside the coffee house remains unchanged. The warm glow of the lamps rests gently across the room. Their small flames move slowly, sometimes bending slightly when a soft breath of air slips through the wooden door. Outside, the narrow street has grown very quiet now. Most of the houses nearby are dark. Families have finished their meals, and many people are already asleep. Only an occasional passerby moves through the street, their footsteps echoing softly against the stone road before fading into the distance. But inside the coffee house, the quiet life of the evening continues. The young visitor sits comfortably against the wall. His eyes move slowly around the room, noticing details he did not see earlier. A small crack in the wooden beam above the door, a faint pattern carved into the edge of a table, the way the copper coffee pots reflect the soft lamplight like small glowing mirrors. When people first arrive here, they often notice the conversations, but after some time, they begin to notice the peaceful stillness between those conversations. That stillness fills the room now. Near the coals, the coffee maker prepares another pot. He pours the water carefully into the sesve and adds the dark coffee grounds with a small, wooden spoon. The scent rises again, rich and warm. It mixes gently with the smell of the burning charcoal and the polished wood of the room. He places the tesve above the glowing coals and waits. Patience is part of the craft. The coffee must warm slowly. Across the room, the backgammon board still rests between the two regular visitors. The younger player rolls the dice once again. They bounce softly against the wood and settle quietly. He moves 2 pieces forward, one after the other. The older man watches the move with calm interest. He strokes his beard gently while studying the board. Then he nods slightly, as if accepting the challenge of the new position. But even this moment of thinking remains peaceful. The game is simply part of the evening's rhythm. Near the window, the man with the worry beads pauses his slow movement for a moment. He lifts his cup again and takes a careful sip. The coffee has cooled slightly now, but the taste remains deep and comforting. After the sip, he returns the cup to the table and lets the beads slide slowly through his fingers once more. Click, click, click. The soft sound blends gently with the quiet room. The young visitor finds the rhythm of the beads calming. It is almost like the steady ticking of a clock, but softer and more human. Nearby, the travelers sit quietly for a moment. Their earlier stories have faded into silence. One of them watches the lamp hanging above their table. The flame moves slowly inside the glass cover. It reminds him of the lantern he carried during many long nights on the road. Travelers often walk under moonlight to avoid the strong heat of the day. Those quiet night walks can feel very peaceful. The road stretches ahead. The sky is wide and full of stars, and the only sounds are footsteps and the wind moving across the land. The traveler smiles slightly at the memory. Then he lifts his cup and drinks again. Across the room, the coffee maker lifts the sesve from the coals. The foam has formed perfectly. He pours the coffee slowly into 2 small cups. The dark liquid settles gently beneath the light foam. He places the cups on a brass tray and carries them carefully across the room. 1 cup is for the older backgammon player, the other for his friend. They both thank him with quiet nods. The older man lifts his cup and studies the steam rising from it. For a moment he does not drink. He simply enjoys the warmth between his hands. Many people believe coffee houses are places for talk, and they are. But they are also places for quiet thinking, a place where a person can sit among others and let their thoughts move slowly, like clouds across the evening sky. The young visitor notices how no one here seems restless. No one checks the time. No one seems eager to leave. In this small room, the night is allowed to unfold at its own gentle pace. Outside, a faint breeze moves through the narrow street again. The lantern beside the door sways slightly on its iron hook. Its light dances softly across the cobblestones. For a moment, the shadow of a passing cat moves across the doorway. Then the street becomes still once more. Inside, the backgammon game continues. The older man rolls the dice. They tumble softly. He moves a piece, then leans back comfortably. The younger player smiles. The man with the worry beads continues his quiet rhythm. The travelers sit peacefully with their cups. The coffee maker begins preparing yet another pot. And the young visitor, now fully settled into the calm atmosphere of the room, simply breathes slowly and listens. The lamps glow. The coals crackle gently. The scent of coffee drifts through the air, and the peaceful Ottoman coffee house continues to welcome the deep and quiet hours of the night. The night outside has now become very still. Above the quiet rooftops of the city, the stars shine calmly in the deep sky. The cool air moves slowly through the narrow streets, touching the stone walls and wooden doors of the sleeping neighborhood. But inside the coffee house, the warmth remains steady. The lamps continue their gentle glow, filling the room with soft, golden light. Their flames move slowly, creating small shadows that drift across the walls like quiet waves. The young visitor sits comfortably now. The earlier feeling of curiosity has softened into something calmer. The peaceful rhythm of the coffee house has settled into his mind. He notices how everyone here moves slowly, almost as if the room itself encourages patience. The coffee maker stands beside the glowing coals once again. He gently taps the side of a copper, sesve to empty the last few grains of coffee from the previous pot. Then he rinses it with a small splash of water and places it carefully back onto the wooden counter. Everything in his corner of the room is arranged neatly. Small cups rest in rows. Copper pots shine faintly in the lamplight. A wooden container holds the finely ground coffee, its rich scent drifting quietly into the air. He scoops another small portion into the sesve. Then water follows. Soon the pot returns to its place above the warm coals. The coffee begins its slow journey toward readiness. Across the room, the backgammon players have paused their game for a moment. The board remains open between them, the carved pieces standing like small travelers resting along a winding road. The older man stretches his fingers slightly before lifting his cup again. He takes a slow sip. The warmth spreads gently through his chest. His friend leans back against the cushion and watches the lamp hanging above their table. Sometimes even a long game needs a quiet pause. Nearby, the man with the worry beads continues his steady motion. The beads slide through his fingers like drops of water moving down a calm stream. Click, click, click. The soft sound blends perfectly with the quiet breathing of the room. The young visitor listens to it carefully. Each bead moves forward. Each moment passes. Time continues, but without pressure. In the corner, the travelers sit peacefully together. One of them rests his arms on the table, watching the steam rising from his cup. The other slowly turns his head toward the window. The dark street outside appears peaceful now. No footsteps pass the door. No voices drift through the air. The entire neighborhood seems to be resting beneath the night sky. The traveler remembers nights spent far from cities, nights on open roads where the only light came from the moon and the stars. Those nights had their own quiet beauty. But there is something special about this kind of peaceful room, a place where strangers share warmth, where stories travel softly, where no one feels alone. The coffee maker lifts the sesve from the coals. The foam has risen gently to the top. He pours a small portion into 2 cups, then returns the pot to the heat once more. This careful process continues until the coffee reaches its perfect strength. Every cup receives the same patience. Every cup carries the same warmth. The young visitor watches with quiet interest. There is something calming about the repetition of the process. Scoop, pour, wait, lift, pour again. Nothing rushed, nothing forced, just steady movement. Across the room, the backgammon game begins again. The younger man rolls the dice. They tumble softly across the board, a quiet sound that has now become familiar to everyone in the room. The older player nods slowly. He moves a piece forward with careful attention. The game continues its slow journey toward its quiet conclusion. Outside, the wind brushes lightly against the wooden door. For a moment, the lantern beside it flickers a little brighter. Then it settles again into its steady glow. The man with the worry beads pauses once more. He places the beads gently on the table and stretches his hands. Then he closes his eyes briefly, enjoying the calm stillness of the room. The young visitor notices how relaxed everyone has become. Earlier in the evening, there were more conversations, more stories. But now, as the night deepens, silence becomes more welcome. Not an empty silence, a comfortable one, the kind that allows thoughts to drift slowly like clouds. The coffee maker finishes pouring another tray of cups. He carries them quietly across the room, placing them gently in front of the travelers. They thank him with soft voices. Then the room returns to its peaceful quiet. The coals glow softly. The lamps flicker gently. The scent of coffee continues to drift through the air, and the Ottoman coffee house rests calmly within the quiet heart of the sleeping city. The young visitor breathes slowly, listening, resting, letting the slow rhythm of the night continue. The night has now reached its calmest hours. In the narrow streets outside, most lanterns have burned low. The quiet houses of the neighborhood rest beneath the cool sky, and only the soft whisper of the wind moves between the buildings. But inside the coffee house, the gentle life of the evening continues. The lamps still glow warmly, though their flames are a little smaller now. Their light stretches across the wooden tables and soft cushions, creating a peaceful golden circle around each group of guests. The young visitor feels the deep calm of the room settle even further. At the beginning of the evening, every sound seemed new to him. Now those sounds feel familiar, comforting, like the slow breathing of the room itself. Near the coals, the coffee maker kneels, slightly as he adjusts the small, charcoal pieces with a thin metal tool. The glowing embers brighten for a moment. A soft crackle rises from the tray. Then the warmth spreads again into the quiet air. He lifts another copper sesve from the wooden counter and pours water into it with steady hands. The dark coffee grounds follow, forming a thin layer across the surface of the water. Soon the rich scent of coffee returns once again. The smell floats gently through the coffee house like a warm evening breeze. Across the room, the backgammon players remain seated at their familiar table. Their game has continued for a long time now. The board rests between them, the pieces standing patiently in their places. The younger man rolls the dice once more. They tumble softly and settle against the edge of the board. He studies the numbers carefully. Then he moves 2 pieces forward with slow, thoughtful motions. The older man watches with calm attention. His fingers gently stroke his beard while he considers the board. He smiles slightly. Then he reaches forward and moves one of his own pieces. The game continues without hurry. Nearby, the man with the worry beads lifts his cup again. Only a small amount of coffee remains at the bottom now. He drinks the last sip slowly. Then he sets the cup down and picks up the beads once more. They move quietly through his fingers. Click, click, click. Each bead passes like a quiet moment in the night. The young visitor listens to that soft rhythm. It feels almost like the gentle ticking of time. In the corner, the 2 travelers sit peacefully together. One of them leans back against the wall, his eyes half closed as he rests. The long road has made his body tired, but the calm warmth of the coffee house has eased that tiredness. His companion sits quietly beside him, watching the small lamp above their table. The flame inside the glass cover moves slowly, like a tiny golden wave. He remembers the many nights he has spent in places like this, coffee houses in distant towns, quiet rooms where strangers share warmth and rest. Though every place is different, the feeling is often the same, a simple comfort, a shared quiet. The coffee maker lifts the sesvi from the coals again. The foam has risen gently to the top. He pours the coffee slowly into 2 waiting cups. Steam curls upward into the air. For a moment, the steam glows in the lamplight before fading. He places the cups carefully on a brass tray and carries them across the room. The travelers open their eyes and thank him softly. Fresh coffee arrives like a small gift during the late hours of the night. Warm, strong, comforting. The young visitor watches the steam rise from their cups. He notices how slowly everything moves here. Even the steam seems to drift upward at a peaceful pace. Outside the coffee house, the night grows deeper still. A faint sound of wind brushes along the rooftops. Somewhere far away, a distant door closes softly. But the neighborhood remains quiet. Inside, the backgammon players approach the final moments of their game. The younger man rolls the dice again. The numbers bring a small smile to his face. He moves his piece forward carefully. The older man studies the board and chuckles quietly. He nods, accepting the outcome. The game has reached its gentle conclusion. The younger man has won this round, but the victory carries no excitement, only quiet satisfaction. The older man lifts his cup and drinks slowly. Perhaps tomorrow evening the game will begin again, and perhaps the result will be different. Games like this are not about winning. They are about sharing time. The man with the worry beads watches the end of the match with a small smile. Then his attention returns to the steady movement of the beads through his fingers. Click, click, click. The young visitor notices how peaceful the room feels now. The conversations have become even softer. Some guests simply sit quietly, enjoying the warmth and calm. The coffee maker begins cleaning the copper pots one by one. He rinses them carefully and places them back on their shelf. His work continues slowly. There is no rush to close the coffee house. These late hours are often the calmest moments of the night. The lamps flicker gently. The coals glow softly. The scent of coffee still lingers in the warm air. And within this quiet Ottoman coffee house, the peaceful night continues to unfold, slowly and gently, like a calm river flowing through the darkness. The night has now become very deep. Outside the coffee house, the narrow street rests in almost complete silence. The lantern beside the door still glows softly, casting a small circle of warm light onto the cobblestones. Beyond that circle, the street fades into quiet darkness. High above the rooftops, the stars shine clearly in the cool sky. But inside the coffee house, the warm lamps still burn, and the peaceful rhythm of the evening continues. The young visitor sits quietly, feeling the calm of the room more deeply than before. When he first entered the coffee house earlier in the evening, he had noticed many small details: the lamps, the voices, the smell of coffee, the quiet games. But now those things feel familiar. The room feels almost like a small world of its own, a place where the busy noise of the city cannot enter. Near the glowing coals, the coffee maker moves slowly as he finishes cleaning one of the copper vases. He rinses it with water and wipes the surface carefully with a cloth. The polished copper reflects the warm lamplight like a soft orange glow. He places it gently on the wooden shelf beside the other pots. One by one, the tools of the evening return to their resting places, but the coals still glow, and the coffee house still breathes quietly with life. Across the room, the backgammon board remains on the table between the two regular players. The game has finished, but neither man has moved the pieces yet. They sit calmly, enjoying the quiet moment that follows the end of a long match. The younger man stretches his fingers slowly. The older man leans back against the cushion and watches the lamp above their table. Neither one speaks for a moment. They simply sit together in the calm silence. Nearby, the man with the worry beads continues his steady rhythm. The beads slide gently through his fingers. Click, click, click. The sound is soft but steady, like the slow passing of time itself. Occasionally he pauses and looks around the room. The peaceful faces, the warm glow of the lamps, the gentle movements of the people gathered here. Coffee houses have always been places where the night feels a little kinder, a place where people can pause their worries and rest their thoughts. The young visitor closes his eyes briefly. The scent of coffee still lingers in the air. Warm wood, soft charcoal smoke, and the faint smell of the night breeze drifting through the door. These scents blend together like a quiet memory. When he opens his eyes again, the travelers in the corner are speaking softly once more. One of them describes a river he once followed during a long journey. The river moved slowly through wide green fields. Villages stood along its banks, and small wooden boats drifted gently across the water. The other traveler listens quietly, nodding now and then. Stories often grow softer during the late hours of the night. Voices become lower, words become slower. The coffee maker prepares one final pot for the evening. He pours water into the sesve and adds the finely ground coffee. The pot rests above the glowing coals. Soon the gentle bubbling begins again. Even after many cups tonight, the scent of fresh coffee still feels comforting. The young visitor watches the process carefully. He notices how patient the coffee maker remains. Every cup receives the same care. Every cup follows the same slow rhythm. Nothing is rushed. Across the room, the older backgammon player finally begins gathering the pieces. He lifts them one by one and places them neatly inside the wooden box. The younger man folds the board carefully. They have played together many evenings in this room, and perhaps they will play many more. The game was never about the outcome. It was simply a quiet companion to the night. Outside, a faint breeze moves through the street again. The lantern sways slightly on its iron hook. Its light shifts across the stone road. For a moment, the shadow of a passing cat crosses the doorway once again. Then the street becomes still. Inside, the coffee maker lifts the final pot from the coals. The foam has risen perfectly. He pours the coffee slowly into 2 cups and places them on a tray. One cup he carries to the travelers. The other he offers to the man with the worry beads. They both thank him softly. The warm cups rest in their hands. Steam curls gently upward. The young visitor watches the steam drift through the lamplight. The room feels even calmer now. The night is reaching its quietest moment. The lamps glow softly. The coals continue their gentle warmth. The scent of coffee floats peacefully through the air. And inside the Ottoman coffee house, the slow and comforting night continues its quiet journey toward the early hours before dawn. The night moves quietly toward its final hours. Outside the coffee house, the streets of the city are almost completely still now. The lantern by the door continues to glow softly, but the shadows around it have grown deeper. The cool air carries a calm silence through the narrow road. Above the rooftops, the stars remain steady and bright, watching over the sleeping city. But inside the coffee house, the gentle warmth still remains. The lamps burn low, yet their soft, golden light continues to rest across the room. The young visitor notices how the light has changed during the night. Earlier, the lamps seemed brighter. Now their glow feels softer, warmer, more peaceful. The room itself seems to be relaxing along with the people inside. Near the coals, the coffee maker sits quietly for a moment. His work has slowed. Most of the cups have been served. Most of the pots have been cleaned and placed neatly back on their shelves. The coals still glow in the tray, but their light is softer now. A faint warmth rises gently from them. He watches the room with calm eyes. This is often his favorite part of the night, the quiet hour when conversations fade and people simply rest in the peaceful atmosphere of the coffee house. Across the room, the two backgammon players remain seated together. Their game is finished, but they have not yet left. The folded board rests beside them on the table. The younger man slowly drinks the last of his coffee. The older man leans back slightly, stretching his shoulders. For many years, they have ended evenings this way, not rushing home, not speaking much, just sitting quietly for a few moments before the night ends. The young visitor notices their calm friendship. Some friendships are loud and full of excitement. Others are quiet and steady, like a gentle river that flows for many years. Nearby, the man with the worry beads continues his soft rhythm. The beads move slowly through his fingers. Click, click, click. The sound has become one of the quiet voices of the room. Each bead slides forward, then another, then another. The movement is peaceful and unhurried. He lifts his cup and finishes the last sip of his coffee. Then he places the cup gently back on the table. The travelers in the corner sit quietly as well. One of them watches the steam fade from his cup. The other looks toward the door. Perhaps they are thinking about tomorrow's road, the long paths that stretch across the hills and valleys beyond the city. Travelers often leave early in the morning before the sun grows strong, but tonight they still rest in the warm safety of the coffee house. The young visitor breathes slowly. He can feel the calm of the room settling deeply around him. The scent of coffee still lingers faintly in the air. The smell of warm wood and soft charcoal mixes gently with it. Outside, somewhere far away in the city, a faint sound drifts through the night. It is the distant call of a night watchman walking through another street. His voice echoes softly between the buildings before fading away again. The coffee maker stands and stretches his arms slightly. Then he begins placing a few extra cups back onto their shelves. His movements remain slow and careful. He does not hurry the final moments of the evening. The young visitor watches the soft light reflecting on the polished copper pots. Each one carries the memory of many evenings, many cups of coffee, many quiet conversations. Generations of people have sat inside this same room. Merchants, travelers, poets, neighbors. strangers who became friends, all sharing the same simple comfort of warm coffee and gentle company. The backgammon players slowly stand from their seats. They stretch their legs after sitting for so long. The younger man folds the cloth beneath the board. The older man adjusts his coat. They nod politely to the coffee maker. No words are needed. They have shared many evenings here, and tomorrow night they may return again. The door opened softly as they step outside. A small breath of cool night air enters the room. Then the door closes again. The street returns to silence. Inside the coffee house, only a few guests remain now. The travelers, the man with the worry beads, the young visitor, and the coffee maker near the coals. The lamps flicker gently. The quiet room feels peaceful and safe. The young visitor leans his head slightly back against the wooden wall. His thoughts move slowly, like clouds drifting across a quiet sky. The warm lamps glow. The last coals shine softly, and the gentle Ottoman coffee house rests peacefully in the deep calm of the night. The night has become very quiet now. Inside the coffee house, the lamps burn softly, their flames smaller than before. The light they give is gentle and warm, resting calmly across the wooden tables and the smooth floor. Outside, the narrow street is almost empty. The lantern beside the door sways slightly in the cool breeze, its small flame moving behind the glass. The young visitor notices how peaceful everything feels. Earlier in the evening, the room had been filled with many small sounds: dice rolling, cups being placed on tables, quiet conversations drifting through the air. But now, those sounds have become softer, more spaced apart. The night itself seems to be slowing down. Near the coals, the coffee maker stands quietly for a moment. He watches the room with calm eyes. Most of the cups have been served. Most of the visitors have finished their drinks. The shelves behind him are neatly arranged again, the copper pots reflecting the dim lamplight. He reaches down and gently moves one of the glowing coals with a small metal tool. The ember brightens for a moment, glowing red like a tiny star. Then it settles again into its soft warmth. Across the room, the two travelers remain seated at their table. Their voices have grown quiet. One of them rests his arm on the table, his eyes half closed as he listens to the peaceful sounds around him. The other traveler looks toward the window. The dark street outside feels calm and endless. He remembers many roads he has walked in the past, dusty paths through quiet villages, stone bridges crossing slow rivers, long trails across wide hills where the wind moves gently through tall grass. Travelers carry many memories with them, but for tonight, the road can wait. The warmth of the coffee house is enough. Nearby, the man with the worry beads continues his slow rhythm. The beads move softly between his fingers. Click, click, click. The sound is steady, almost like the slow heartbeat of the quiet room. The young visitor listens carefully. He has never spent an evening quite like this before. The calm feels deep and comfortable. The lamps glow softly. The scent of coffee still lingers faintly in the warm air. For a moment, no one speaks, and the silence does not feel empty. It feels peaceful. The coffee maker gently lifts a cloth and wipes the wooden counter once more. His movements are slow and thoughtful. After many hours of serving cups and tending the coals, the evening has finally reached its quiet closing moments. But he does not rush. In places like this, the night is allowed to end naturally. The travelers finish the last drops of coffee in their cups. They sit for a moment longer, enjoying the warmth. Then one of them stretches slowly and stands. His friend rises as well. They thank the coffee maker with soft voices and kind smiles. He nods in return. The door opens gently as they step outside. A breath of cool night air moves through the room. The lantern flickers. Then the door closes again. The street becomes silent once more. Inside the coffee house, only 3 people remain now: the coffee maker, the man with the worry beads, and the young visitor. The man with the beads pauses his slow motion for a moment. He places the beads carefully on the table and stands. He finishes his final sip of coffee and nods politely toward the coffee maker. Then he quietly leaves the room. The door opens and closes once more. Now the coffee house grows very still. Only the soft glow of the lamps and the gentle warmth of the coals remain. The young visitor sits quietly for a moment longer. He looks around the room, the empty tables, the soft light, the peaceful shadows along the walls. The entire evening feels like a calm memory. Finally, he stands as well. He nods respectfully to the coffee maker and moves toward the door. When he steps outside, the cool night air touches his face. The city rests quietly beneath the stars. Behind him, the coffee house remains warm and calm. Inside, the coffee maker slowly lowers the lamps one by one. Their flames grow smaller. The room grows darker. The last glowing coals fade softly, and the gentle coffee house settles into its quiet rest until the next evening arrives. The street outside the coffee house is cool and quiet. The young visitor pauses for a moment after stepping outside. The air feels fresh after the warmth of the room. Above him, the sky stretches wide and dark, filled with calm, distant stars. The narrow street rests peacefully. The lantern beside the coffee house door glows softly behind him, casting a small circle of light on the stone ground. Beyond that circle, the road fades gently into shadow. For a moment, the young visitor listens. The city is not completely silent. Far away, the wind moves across rooftops. Somewhere in the distance, a wooden door closes softly, and from very far off, the faint sound of water from the Bosphorus drifts through the night air. But compared to the busy hours of the day, the city now feels calm and almost sleepy. The young visitor slowly begins to walk down the street. His footsteps echo quietly against the smooth cobblestones. He walks slowly, not wanting to disturb the peaceful night. Behind him, inside the coffee house, the coffee maker continues his gentle closing routine. The lamps have been lowered, their flames now very small. He moves carefully through the room, placing each cup back onto its shelf. The copper pots rest quietly beside one another, their polished surfaces dim in the fading light. He lifts the tray of coals and gently spreads the embers so they cool slowly. The soft glow fades little by little. For many years, this same quiet ending has happened at the close of each evening. The coffee house opens when the day is still bright. It fills slowly with visitors. Stories are told. Games are played. Coffee is poured again and again. Then, as the night deepens, the room slowly becomes quiet, until only the final moments remain. Outside, the young visitor continues walking along the peaceful street. The buildings around him stand tall and silent. Many have wooden balconies that stretch slightly over the road. Curtains cover the windows. Inside those homes, families rest in sleep. The soft glow of a few remaining lamps can still be seen through small cracks in the shutters. He turns a corner slowly. The street ahead slopes gently downward. In the distance, he can just see the faint reflection of moonlight touching the water. Beyond the harbor, a soft breeze moves through the street, carrying the cool scent of the sea. He breathes in slowly. The calm of the coffee house still rests in his thoughts. Inside the building behind him, the coffee maker finishes placing the last cups onto their shelf. The room now feels very still. The lamps have nearly burned out. Only one remains glowing softly above the counter. He sits for a moment on the small stool near the coals. The quiet room feels familiar and peaceful. He has watched thousands of evenings pass inside these walls. Different visitors, different conversations, but always the same calm rhythm. Coffee houses like this one are more than simple rooms. They are places where the noise of the world slows down. Places where people gather not to hurry, but to rest, to listen, to share small moments together. After a few minutes, the coffee maker stands again. He gently lowers the final lamp. The flame grows smaller, then smaller still, until the room is filled only with the faint glow of the cooling coals. Outside, the young visitor reaches a small open square between the buildings. A fountain stands at its center. The water moves slowly, its quiet, trickling sound echoing softly in the empty space. He stops beside the fountain and watches the water for a moment. The surface reflects the stars above. Small ripples move across the pool. The city at night feels very different from the busy world of the day. Everything moves slower. Thoughts feel lighter. Even the air seems calmer. After a moment, he continues walking. Behind him, the coffee house door is now closed. The lantern beside it burns softly through the quiet hours before dawn. Inside, the room rests peacefully in darkness. The tables are empty. The cups are stacked neatly. The copper pots sit quietly on their shelves. The coals fade slowly into gentle gray ash, and the calm coffee house waits patiently for another day, another evening, another gathering of quiet voices and warm cups of coffee. But for now, the night continues its silent journey beneath the stars, and the peaceful streets of the Ottoman city remain still and restful until the first light of morning slowly arrives. The night continues its slow and gentle journey. The young visitor walks quietly through the calm streets of the Ottoman city. His footsteps are soft against the cobblestones, and each step echoes faintly in the peaceful silence. The air feels cooler now. A light breeze moves through the narrow streets, brushing against the wooden balconies and stone walls. The breeze carries the faint scent of the sea and the quiet freshness that often comes in the hours before dawn. The young visitor walks without hurry. After spending the evening inside the coffee house, his mind feels calm and steady. The warm lamps, the quiet conversations, the gentle sounds of the room, all of it still lingers softly in his thoughts. He passes a small shop with its wooden shutters closed tightly. During the day, the shop sells spices from distant lands. The air around it often smells of cinnamon, cloves, and dried herbs. But now the shop rests in darkness. Only the quiet street remains. Far above, the moon hangs softly in the sky. Its pale light spreads gently across the rooftops and minarets of the city. The young visitor pauses for a moment and looks upward. The sky seems very wide tonight, very calm, very still. In the distance, the faint outline of a mosque dome rises above the nearby buildings. Its shape appears soft beneath the moonlight. The entire city feels like it is breathing slowly in its sleep. Behind him, back at the coffee house, the building rests quietly in darkness. The coffee maker has finished his work for the night. Inside the room, the final lamp has been lowered. The coals have cooled. The tables stand empty beneath the wooden beams of the ceiling. Only the faint smell of coffee remains in the air, like a gentle memory of the evening that has just passed. For many years, the coffee house has followed the same peaceful rhythm. Each morning, the door opens to welcome the first visitors of the day. Throughout the afternoon, neighbors stop by to share stories and small cups of strong coffee. And in the evening, the room fills with quiet conversations, gentle games, and travelers resting their tired feet. Then, as the night deepens, the coffee house slowly grows quiet again, until only the stillness remains. The young visitor continues walking through the quiet streets. Soon he reaches a small bridge that crosses a narrow canal. The water below moves slowly, reflecting the moon and stars like a soft mirror. He leans lightly on the wooden railing of the bridge and watches the water for a moment. The gentle movement of the current feels peaceful. A small boat tied beside the canal rocks slowly with the motion of the water. Its rope creaks softly against the wooden post. The city feels very far away from the noise of daytime life. Even the wind moves gently now. After a few quiet moments, the young visitor steps away from the railing and continues walking. He passes another narrow street, where tall buildings lean slightly toward each other above the road. Their wooden balconies almost touch in the middle, creating a shadowed path beneath them. The soft moonlight reaches the ground only in small pieces, but the path still feels safe, still calm. Soon he arrives near a small courtyard surrounded by homes. In the center of the courtyard stands an old olive tree. Its twisted branches stretch gently toward the sky. The leaves move quietly in the night breeze. The young visitor pauses beside the tree. He listens. The entire city seems to be resting peacefully now. Only the faint sound of the wind and the distant whisper of water remain. After a moment, he sits on the low stone edge of the courtyard. The calm of the evening settles deeper in his thoughts. He remembers the warm room of the coffee house, the glow of the lamps, the slow game of backgammon, the quiet rhythm of the worry beads moving through careful fingers, the smell of freshly brewed coffee rising into the warm air. These simple moments carry a quiet beauty, a beauty that many people notice only when they slow down. The young visitor breathes slowly. The cool night air fills his lungs. Above him, the stars continue their silent journey across the sky. Soon, the first faint hint of dawn will begin to appear far beyond the horizon. But for now, the peaceful hours of the night remain. The city rests. The streets remain quiet. And the memory of the gentle coffee house evening continues to drift softly through the calm Ottoman night. The quiet night slowly begins to soften. The young visitor still sits beside the old olive tree in the small courtyard. The stone beneath him feels cool, and the air around him carries the calm freshness that often comes in the final hours before dawn. The city remains peaceful. Most windows are dark. Most doors are closed. The narrow streets, which during the day fill with footsteps and voices, now rest beneath the wide sky. The young visitor looks upward once more. The stars are still bright, but something has begun to change. Far in the distance, along the edge of the horizon, the darkness is becoming just a little lighter. Not bright yet, only a faint gray glow. The first quiet sign that morning will eventually arrive. But the night still holds its calm. A soft breeze moves through the courtyard, stirring the leaves of the olive tree above him. The branches sway gently, and the leaves whisper quietly together. It is a peaceful sound, a natural sound. The young visitor closes his eyes for a moment and listens. The calm evening he spent inside the coffee house feels very close in his thoughts. He remembers the warm lamps glowing above the tables, the steady movement of the coffee maker preparing cup after cup, the rich scent of roasted coffee filling the room, the quiet roll of backgammon dice across the wooden board, and the soft clicking of worry beads moving patiently through careful fingers. Each small moment from that evening now feels like a gentle memory. Inside the coffee house, not far away, the room remains silent and still. The door is closed. The lantern outside the entrance burns low, its flame smaller than before. Inside, the wooden tables rest quietly in the darkness. The copper pots sit neatly on their shelves. The cups are stacked carefully, waiting for another day. The last warmth from the coals has faded into soft gray ash. For now, the coffee house sleeps, but soon the city will begin to wake again. The first merchants will open their shops. Fishermen will prepare their boats along the water. Bakers will light their ovens and begin kneading dough for the morning bread. And when the sun climbs higher into the sky, the door of the coffee house will open once more. The coffee maker will return. The coals will glow again. Fresh coffee will begin its slow journey inside the small copper pots. And once again, visitors will gather. Neighbors will sit beside one another at the low tables. Travelers will pause to rest their feet. Friends will play quiet games of backgammon. Stories will drift gently through the warm air, just as they have for many evenings before, and just as they will for many evenings to come. The young visitor slowly stands from the stone edge of the courtyard. The night air feels calm and peaceful around him. He takes one last look at the quiet sky. The faint glow of early dawn continues to grow far away on the horizon. The stars begin to fade one by one. The world is slowly preparing to wake, but the calm of the night remains. He walks quietly through the peaceful streets once more. His footsteps echo softly on the cobblestones. The memory of the gentle coffee-house evening stays with him as he moves through the sleeping city. Warm lamps, soft voices, slow conversations, small cups of strong coffee shared in quiet companionship. These simple moments are part of the quiet life of the Ottoman city, moments that pass slowly, gently, and without hurry. And as the young visitor disappears down the silent street, the last peaceful hours of the night continue to drift softly across the rooftops. The city rests for just a little longer. The sky grows lighter, and somewhere behind the closed wooden door, the quiet Ottoman coffee house waits patiently for another calm evening to begin.